mind, I see what you mean. Like a Formula One cockpit. Is that what you mean? I'm not sure.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Italian capital, the historic city of Rome, and the home to this weekend's E-Prix. Before we get underway here, let me introduce you to the track layout, the driver grid, and my great companion alongside me, Aaron.
Howdy.
Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite good. I'm quite excited for this weekend's race. Like last week, it might be a very good one.
Like last weekend, I think we're in for another wonderful race here in Rome. So Aaron, take us through the track layout here in Rome.
Okay, so there are a total of 21 turns in this long Rome track, which is one of the most tricky and twisty circuits on the calendar, a lot like Singapore in the F1 league. I reckon the in particular turns 16 to 21 will be the ones that would frustrate our drivers today, as those tight turns will be extremely hard to master. But what should be noticed as well is that the track also looks like a cockpit of an F1 car.
Interesting touch for an interesting circuit we have here. Another corner I think might have some difficulties is the hairpin of turn 13. Very tight hairpin, might have some issues there for the drivers today as they're learning the track. Now we'll go on and take a look at the constructor standings currently. For the constructor standings, we have Audi sitting in first place with 247 points, led by their driver Dakar. They've had an excellent season so far. I don't think anyone's going to catch up to them, but you never know in the world of Formula E. Next, you have Nissan E-Doms with 148 points, 99 points behind. They've been having a decent season. They'll be trying to catch up to Audi. Behind them, we have BMW Andretti, who has 94 points and 153 points behind Audi. They have their driver ahead, Kenny. They have Kenny as their main driver, though, and they should be able to make some progress. Fourth is Panasonic and Jaguar Racing with 69 points, 178 behind Audi. Then you have Neo Formula E team, only 1 point behind Panasonic with 1 point. Or with 68 points, my apologies. Then you have Venturi, again behind Neo by only 1 point. Very close, 4 through 6 right there. Followed closely by Envision, Virgin Racing, with 64 points. Very tight 4 through 7 places in the constructors, with Tachita with 54 points, not far behind, and Mahindra 51 points, only 3 points behind Tachita. Then you have GeoX Dragon Racing, which has 34 points. Not as many points as they would like, but I'm sure they can gain some good points this weekend. And then in 11th place, you have HWA Race Lab, who has only 0 points on the season. They'll be looking for some points today. So Aaron, why don't you walk us through what the Drivers' Championship looks like right now?
So in first place is Dakar. He drives for Audi and has 152 points, which is quite a large surplus of points over the next person, Horizon, who's his teammate, with 86 points. Ahead, Kenny Benny is in third place with 76, and in fourth place is Hofla. Fifth is Super Funny Max, sixth is Landro, seventh Sengstam, Kakira in eighth, and Chaco in ninth. The last three mentioned are all for the Nissan E-Dams team, who will be looking for strong points this weekend to help in their team championship.
And now we're gonna have our camera operator show you the rest of the driver standings, and you can see the points they have for yourselves. And that's the driver standings. Very competitive season we've had thus far. Dakar has been in a league of his own, but I think Kenny and some other drivers have a chance of catching up, especially after the close finish we had in Eindhoven last week. And it is important to note that the second place driver, Horizon, has shockingly retired from driving for the rest of the season. He is one of the league owners, so it is understandable. I think we're going to try to get an interview with him later today just to find out what's going on there.
The reserves for the Audi team are Project US, Go Mike, and Castrionics. I'm not sure which will be driving today, but the car will be looking for good points from his teammates.
Definitely, and it'll be interesting to see just who Audi goes with to fill that second main driver spot, because they have not determined who that's going to be yet. So this is a great time for Audi to evaluate those 3 reserves and see if one of them is going to make the jump to main. Now it looks like we're 38 minutes into the session, but there also seems to be potentially technical difficulty might cause the session to be delayed. We'll update you when we know more. So Aaron, why don't you walk us through what happened last week in Eindhoven?
So in Eindhoven, Dakar had probably the most dominant race I've seen from him this whole season. He had, I believe it was a minute lead by the end of the race. Over ahead Kenny Benny, I think?
Yes, I believe it was Kenny in second place, Hardman in third place after the very close finish.
Yeah, I believe there was only about 3/10 in the difference, as ahead Kenny Benny got Hardman on the last lap.
I believe it was like a 100th gap. It was right at the line. Photo finish. It was an excellent. That stream is posted on the channel if anyone wants to go back and take a look at it. It was an excellent race to watch.
But there was a lot of crashes and incidents during the race, as the Eindhoven corners and curbs are very hard to touch. You could easily flip, and we've seen that a lot during the race.
No doubt about it, and it is important to note that there were also some technical difficulties, as Horizon and Sang, I believe it was, connected throughout the race, but they were given their positions back as it was no fault of their own. But after an excellent Eindhoven race, we are excited for a race that we expect will be even more interesting here in Rome, because Eindhoven had 3 long straights on that circuit, and here in Rome, there's not really that many straights other than a start straight. So it's going to be interesting to see just how the drivers go from driving a fairly long track to a now very twisty and tight circuit here in Rome. Any further comments for you to make, Aaron?
Have you talked about the facts of Rome yet?
I don't believe we have mentioned any of the facts here about this glorious city of Rome.
Well, what a great conversation to start. The total turn... Oh god. The total turns is 21, as I said earlier. But about Rome is known as the Caput Mundi, which translates from Latin. It means capital of the world. One of the most astonishing facts about Italy, and in particular Rome, is that it is the oldest city in the world, and it's home to over 900 churches, which links into where the Pope lives in the Vatican. It's very close to Rome.
And Rome has been home to many great empires in its time. Now, I've just been told to inform you from race control that there are some technical issues with the timing system, and there is likely to be a shutdown momentarily. We will update you more about that when we know more. If there happens to be a shutdown, we'll go ahead and go into a short ad break and catch back up with you once the server is up and running again. However, back to Rome. Rome has been home to great empires in its time, with the Roman Empire, one of the largest empires of all time. Definitely an interesting city with a lot of history.
And to keep on the topic of cars and stuff, the Romans had built a road network of 53,000 miles. By the early 4th century, cars weren't made then, but it obviously has affected us for the greater good in the future. Each Roman mile was about 4,800 feet and marked by a milestone, giving birth to saying all roads lead to Rome.
Definitely. And the Italians, the Italian people themselves are known for cars, with Lamborghini and Ferrari being 2 famous car companies coming out of the Italian homeland. lot of history here for racing in Rome and in Italy in itself. So this country will definitely be looking for a great Rome E-Prix this weekend.
And I'm sure they will receive one.
No doubt about it. We've got an excellent grid of drivers, and we've had excellent action this season. It is definitely going to be one heck of a race. And as it looks right now, there's currently about 30 minutes left in the session. However, like we said, we don't know what's going on with the timing steering, so we're not able to update you on current times. However, we would think that Dakar is currently leading the timing at the moment with how blistering he's been paced the past few weeks.
It wouldn't really surprise me.
And we're now going to jump to an ad break, and we'll come back to you shortly here in the wonderful Italian city of
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Alright, welcome back everyone. The technical difficulties has been figured out, and we are back now here in Rome for Free Practice 1, which has been shortened to 30 minutes remaining for the technical difficulties. Aaron, what do you expect we can see out of the session for the rest of the Free Practice 1 today?
I think we can definitely see Dakar with this song performance. Hardman is new to the league, but he has shown his pace previously in Eindhoven, so I expect him to be at least top 5. Who else? I can probably expect... Let's see. There's a lot of people here that are very good. It's just hard to choose who could actually be close to a podium, at least.
Definitely. I think we're going to see a good competitive session today, as there are many solid drivers. And remember, like we saw in Eindhoven for Free Practice 1 3 weeks ago, is that there are a lot of mistakes that happen in the practice sessions. So it'll be interesting to see which drivers limit their mistakes and get used to the track, and which drivers struggle in their driving today.
They'll want to wash out them mistakes now rather than in the race, as they struggled to do that last week. No, sorry, not 3 weeks ago.
Definitely, that is the important thing. Right now, Sang currently is the first person to set a time on the leaderboard with a 1:03.9. Excellent time. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump on board Sang, who's driving for the Nissan team. Sang with the quickest time overall in the session right now with a 1:03.9, followed closely by Kenny with a 1:04.05. Kenny now is on the start straight, going into the hairpin of turn 13, I believe it is.
Yes, that is into a tight right-hander of turn 14, onto a small straight to turn 15.
Little bit of a slip there out of that turn, now going into the hairpin of turns 16, 17, 18, and 19. Definitely a tricky section right there.
As you can see, he wobbles around a bit.
We'll see if he improves on his time for this lap. As it looks like crossing the finish line, he set a 1:05.15 on that last lap. So not an improvement, but a decent lap.
And as he now goes on to his next lap, we will hope to see a good improvement.
Let's go ahead and jump on board Kenny in the BMW, who just had a slip right before the finish straight. A little bit of a slip there right before the finish line. Now starting his next hot lap. And the Nissan in front of him also having some trouble. Kenny, though, having a very solid season for the BMW Andretti team. Currently sitting third in the Drivers' Championship, likely to be the next second place after a short while, with Horizon having retired for the Audi, sitting in second.
After his performance last week, he can easily take that P2 after this race.
No doubt about it. Kenny's going to be on for an excellent season, I think, the rest of... Kenny having a very clean lap so far, now going into the tight 16, 17, 18, 19 chicane section.
Quite well, while his teammate is facing backwards, it seems.
Definitely some drivers having some issues, it seems. So the drivers are definitely still getting used to the Rome track here, as lefts turn a little bit more difficultly, and that's his lap. Sets a 110.2 on that lap, it seems. Not his best at all.
Someone who will be looking to improve is Hardman, so we might go on board with him, maybe? Oh, no, never mind. Hardman is the Andretti stuck in the wall, it seems.
It appears it is the case, so it looks like Hardman has transferred to the BMW Andretti team.
Originally from the Techeetah team.
And it is, let's go ahead and make a note of that. There have been a lot of driver transfers between Eindhoven 3 weeks ago and here, as there was a driver transfer market opening, and there have been several moves across the field. We'll try to let you know those moves as we monitor those drivers. And we'll go ahead and just let our cameraman give you some track views as we try to let you know what's, as of right now, saying retakes the fastest time with a 103.47. TDM Fan 1903 with a 103.64, splitting the time pretty evenly between Sang and Kenny to be about right in the middle of those two. Very good time for him. Looks like he's a newcomer in the session.
Formula E League. Another transfer that has happened is Lanor to Mahindra Racing. He originally came from Envision Virgin Racing, but I don't seem to see any of their cars around.
Yeah, it's an interesting move, that is.
Project US is the reserve driver for Audi, who has taken the second Audi spot beside Dakar, who seems to not be out on the track yet.
So it looks like they're going with Project User for their current reserve driving in this session for the Audi team. Good to know. I'm taking a look at TDM Fan. It looks like he's driving for the GeoX Dragon Racing team. Haven't seen him yet in a session. He wasn't at Eindhoven. Looks like he's a new driver taking the stage for GeoX. We'll see what he can do for GeoX.
They are currently at the bottom of the leaderboard, I do believe. They'll be looking for some good points from TDM, and he seems to be setting fast times, so it might be a very large help.
Definitely. They're sitting in P10 right
P10,
now,
sorry.
just ahead of HWA in P11, yet to score. So out of the point scorers, GeoX currently sitting last. So GeoX definitely looking for a good performance from TDM Fan this weekend. Based off his current time, I wouldn't doubt seeing that happen.
Another new racer is Zagzag, who's setting competitive times, and is also in the Envision Racing.
The Envision team, yeah. Now, important to note is Dakar is currently not here right now. So it'll be interesting this what session he first appears in and how he gets used to the track and how quickly that happens.
Jokes.
Not having him on the track isn't going to help, as it looks like there was a spin by one of the Tachitas just entering the start straight.
We've seen a lot of that from them last week, so hopefully they can get rid of their imperfections. Oh, and a spin from an Audi as well.
And we're going to go ahead and jump to an interview real quick with one of the league owners, Horizon. How are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. So one thing that's important to note is you retired from driving for the Audi team for this race. What made you come to that decision?
I think it was just a number of factors, such as I need to take more of a hands-on role with him running the league, because being a driver is quite full on itself. So I just wanted to help the league grow more and more, and being a driver just wasn't really helping me be able to run it. So yeah, that's why I've chosen to retire.
That definitely makes sense. Now, you are still helping manage the Audi team, correct?
Yeah, I've moved to the team principal role just to be scouting drivers and just getting the team going, whilst Nerd is kind of overseeing all of that.
So what can you tell us about what your strategy is for picking that second main driver to pair Dakar for the rest of Are you testing out your reserve drivers here this weekend, or what can we expect to see from you all?
Well, yeah, we're looking at mainly our reserve drivers to put into a main position. Could be user, or it could be Castronics, depending on how they perform activity wise and speed wise. So yeah, at the moment we're just kind of looking through our reserves, but we'll probably be signing someone else to fill the spot that's there.
Definitely, it looks like you guys are going to have a great end of the season. Moving on to just about the league itself, how do you feel the league is currently going right now? Seems like Eindhoven was a pretty good success 3 weeks ago, and we're looking for another good race here in Rome. So just how's the league looking overall? Is it looking for a bright future?
Yeah, it looks that way so far. We've gained quite a lot of members over the last few races as we get bigger, and we've improved our development of races a lot. As you can see, this track looks really nice. It's the best track that we've had so far. And yeah, we're just trying to grow the league out and attract more people. We've done several things over the pre-season break we had, and we've got several things lined up for next season, such as energy management, which will add a lot more strategy into the racing, which should be a really good factor, and hopefully we can get attack mode depending on what happens.
Sounds like that's going to be an excellent few additions for next season. We'll definitely be excited for that. And this is a beautiful Rome track, so you all should be proud of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Aaron, do you have any final questions before we let the man go?
I have one. Is there any info on Go-Mike? I see him here on your reserve drivers list, but is he still within your ranks?
He's still on the team. He's not able to make as many races as we'd probably like him to, but he is quite quick, so we're just keeping him for now. But I don't think at the moment he'll be one of the main drivers.
Okay, thank you for the info.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Horizon, and I'm sure we'll come back to talking to you after the race tomorrow about how the team did.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck this weekend. Take care.
And you.
Same here.
All right, now we're going to get back to the track action, as it looks like the Audi reserve driver, project user, in that second spot. 104.9 for him, having a decent day so far.
Sengstam also improves his time by a second, setting a 102.54. A good performance from the Nissan Edams this week.
Definitely, we have had a good race today, or a good session so far today. So now we're gonna get to another interview here with the we're with the Audi reserve who is fighting for the main spot in Audi, Mr. Project User. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am good. Glad to have you here. So obviously, you are one of the reserve drivers for Audi. Currently, you've driven a little bit for the team here in free practice. We just talked to your principal. How do you think things are going right now? Do you think you can fight for that second spot behind Dakar?
Well, I mean, everyone can fight for the second spot with Dakar, and I mean, we've had some good performances this season, which may turn the tables to if I get the main seat or not, but when it comes to deciding important things, it comes to the performance of the team and how they work with the team.
Definitely, yeah. And it looks like you're sitting right now in the session P10 with a 104.9. Very competitive time. So it looks like you're doing a good job of trying to get that second spot again alongside Dakar in the main drivers for Audi. So I'm sure you must be happy with that.
Well, any time that's almost competitive with your teammates is a good time. That's the only person you want to compare yourselves with is your teammates. How good are you doing against your teammates? And if you need to make sure that you're nearly their pace, so you're getting good amount of points for the team, of course.
Definitely, that teammate rivalry can never be understated, as teammate rivalry is the most closest person you can compare to, as they are the only person in the same machinery as you. So speaking to that, what is your opinion of Dakar? If you happen to get that second main driver spot, what do you think we can expect between your relationship? How good is it?
Well, I mean, with every relationship, there's going to be banter with it, and you just get better with time, and you just learn to share your tips and tricks of the track just to help each other improve their time and make each other more competitive so we can bring away the best performance for the team, really.
Aaron, do you have any questions for the man?
I do not. I believe you asked anything I was going to ask. Thank you for your time, Project.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us, Project User, and we hope you have a good session.
Thank you.
Alright, and now we are going to jump back to track action, as later we will be joined by Kenny and Lenore after the session to just have a breakdown of how things went. So right now in the session, Sang currently out ahead by over a second with a 102.36 leading the way, although Dakar is not here, so we don't have the best comparison of pace for certain, as Dakar has been the quickest driver overall the past several weeks, or races. So I don't know what his time is going to look like, but saying very competitive time right now. I'm sure the Nissan team is going to be happy with that.
Looking at Sengstam's, I cannot pronounce the name, Sengstam's time compared to the other times, it does look like he might be able to get on the same pace as Dakar, just being that far ahead from other very competitive drivers.
Now, important to note is Kaikira, his teammate in the other Nissan car, is a 103.2. So the two Nissans having an excellent first practice here in Rome right now. Nissan currently sits down second place in the championship. If they have a good session today, they're going to be looking very strong in trying to chase down Audi. And now let's go ahead and jump on board with Riley, who's having an okay session with a 104.5. Riley drives for the Mahindra team, yes. And it looks like there's a lot of drivers here packed up together with a Tachita, a BMW, and both the Mahindra.
It might just be a strategy type thing. They might try to get slipstream from the other cars front.
Definitely.
Which is not as important on this track, though, compared to Eindhoven, but still can help on the straight before turn 13.
And it looks like this pack is actually the The BMW, followed by the Mahindra, followed by the Takeda, and followed by one of the Audis.
That
So-
Audi most likely being Project.
Oh, and looking at the leaderboard, TDM Fan now up to a 102.29, taking first in the session. That is the driver for Geox that's new to the league. That is an interesting one to see here as the BMW up ahead spun, as well as it looks like the HWA.
Panasonic. Oh, one of them. They're very similar liveries, so please forgive us if we make mistakes.
And one of the Geox also having some issues there. It looks like that was TDM. And we're going to go ahead and jump on board TDM Fan of the Geox now, who's had a very, very good session for the newcomer. As he is coming through now, looks like he is on to turn 15 now, going into turns 16 through 20. Actually, no, he is going into turn 13 chicane now. Or not chicane, but hairpin.
And Sangstam improves his time by about 4/10, being the first of the drivers to get into the 101s.
Bang is in the 101s now. Very good time for him. We'll see if TDM can catch up to that. But Sang has had probably the best session here today, in my opinion. But TDM Fan, for the newcomer, is also having a very good session. And now we'll go ahead and switch back to track cams as we keep letting you know what's going on. So right now, top 5 in the session is Sang in the Nissan with a 101.9, followed by TDM with a 102.2 in the G. Then Kaikira with a 103.2 in the other Nissan, followed by Zazag with a 104 in the Envision. And then rounding out the top 5, as it looks like Kenny just jumped up in the BMW to P4 with a 103.6. Zazag in 5th for the Envision with a 104.0. So, very good top 5 times, although there is a decent spread there. Although it looks like, though, the average time right now around Rome is a 104, with drivers 5 through 12 on the leaderboard having times within the 104.
If anyone wants to get within that top 3, they will definitely need to be in at least the 102s. And 103 is not as competitive as one may seem right now.
The times you're going to want for Super Pole later on in qualifying tomorrow is going to be around a 102 to get into the Super Pole session. As right now, the top 4 drivers now are in the 102s as Kenny and Sonic jumped up. Kenny with a 102.8 and Sonic with a 102.9.
Oh, and TDM spins while trying to set a hot lap.
TDM had a spin there, not good for him.
The curbs are quite hard on this circuit, but people seem to be managing them well. Not as much spins and crashes as Eindhoven.
And it looks like Geox is having a very good session. P10 in the Constructors Championship. They've got TDM in P2 with a 102.2 and Sonic in P4 with a 102.9. Great session for Geox. They're going to be looking for a good race to get caught back up in the standing.
As a new team, that is very good points. They are only 13 points behind. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. They are only 26 points, 25 points. Nope, 27 points behind Mahindra. They'll be looking for at least a top 8 finish after this race.
If they can get both their drivers in the points and one of them up into around P4, P5 range, they're going to have an excellent jump in the standings, or at least closing the gap to Mahindra, I'm sure.
Right now, it seems 18 points, 12 points. Around 30 points could be gotten for them, which would bring them up to 7th. If
Sonic having a little bit of a touch coming out of the hair now. As in the first practice session here in Rome, there are 7 minutes remaining in the first practice session, so the drivers will be trying to get some quick times before the end of the session.
I would be very much interested in what time Dakar could say if he was here. I believe he could definitely get within 105s. Well, no, 101.5s.
And before we go ahead and go to another onboard, just want to remind you that we're going to have Kenny from BMW and Lenore from Mahindra, the recent transfer there, jumping in here for some interviews. So that'll be after the session. You can look forward to that. Now let's go ahead and jump on board with Love Majority for the Envision team. Having not the best session we've seen from him, sitting in P12 with a 104.9. Aaron, why don't you walk us through how he's doing right now?
So right now he's taking not so close lines to the apex, but that might just be his driving style. As you can see, he doesn't really want to hit them, but it also is compromising his turns and hitting the walls. He is in a slipstream right now of 2 other cars, so that might help him. Oh, and he spins.
It does look like he is being fairly consistent besides that spin, as he had a 104.9 as his best time, and his last time was a 105 point. Very consistent times. However, that spin doesn't help that for sure. Now going on to the start straight.
He does have consistent times, but I'm not sure his... I don't know how to put it. His... No, I can't come up with the words right now. Do you have any points on his driving style?
Consistency is the most important thing in any form of racing. As a driver, another series myself, that is definitely the most important thing. The best drivers are always the most consistent ones. Fortunately, that's something I've struggled with a bit in that league. But speaking to that, if these drivers can get a consistent pace here at the track, that's going to mitigate being slower than the faster guys, because if they make a mistake, then you can catch up if you're being consistent. So consistency is the most important thing in any form of racing, and that's what we're going to be looking for here today and across the weekend, is how consistent these guys can be.
Hopefully we can we hope for some consistent internet speeds from Sangstam. Hopefully his connection stays with us throughout the race tomorrow, as he is setting very competitive times and might be in with a chance of winning.
That I hope we do see. And with consistency does come confidence, and once you build confidence, those quicker lap times start coming. So hopefully the drivers will be looking here to get some consistency down, to hopefully set those quicker times. As looking here at the Rome circuit, it looks like Sector 3 is the most complicating section, with turns 16 through 21 all being very tight and very close chicane. So that is a fun section to keep an eye on throughout the weekend, as the other 2 sections do have some straights within them. So, Sector 3 will have the most interesting set of corners to it.
Especially with them curbs, as I've mentioned before, it's very easy to spin on them or even get stuck in them. As
Looking like the Mahindra up there had a little bit of a touch with the wall at the hair.
It's quite a common thing to see in this Formula E league. With
So
people...
currently we've seen 17 drivers set times within the session. Pretty good turnout for the league today. I'm sure Horizon and the Roblox Formula E league will be happy with that. As it looks like Jordy is now trying to overtake the Mahindra.
He may be practicing... Oh, and he hits
And there is a Nissan catching ahead up there, and the Nissan has overtaken Jordy in the Envision. But overtaking isn't everything everything that matters, because this is only practice. So overtaking isn't important here, but if you can get the moves down here, it'll help you greatly in the race.
A good thing for them to practice is how good they can keep their focus when behind another driver. Can they focus on the track and catching up to that person in front at the same time?
Definitely. As there are less than 2 minutes remaining in the session here in Rome. So we'll go ahead and get ready to give you the rundown of the session here in a moment and get you those 2 interviews we promised.
And second time improves his time by 6/10, now into the 101.3s.
Well, great time for Sang as Jordy had a spin outside, going on to one of the longer straight, the final straight, or getting close to the final straight. And now we're going to go ahead and jump back to some track views to finish out the session. Maybe jump on board Sang in the session, who's been the quickest driver overall. Let's go ahead and jump on board Sang in the Nissan with the quickest time overall today, as he is going through the start straight, it looks like. Although it looks like I've had some issues. I'll be back in a moment. Aaron, take over the comment.
Yeah, that is fine. I'll continue with watching Sang's jam and look at his driving style. He goes quite fast into that turn 16, 17 chicane and through the 2021 as well. He really likes to hit them corners hard. As we go on a hot lap with him, he has good speed but no slipstream on this long straight with less corners. Takes a wide line into turn 6, into turn 7, close to the apex. Once again, no slipstream on this straight, but I'm sure that will not affect his time too much if he's good around the corners. It's the apex hard, but sadly hits the wall. Oh, and he stops on the track. Probably brake too late.
And I am back now, back on board with Sang. Yeah, it looks like he got a bit of a touch there, coming up to the hairpin of turn 13. Now going into the tight turn 14 into turn 15. Kind of a chicane, but not really here, as it's a right and then a left. And then now coming into the complex of turns 16 through 21, one of the tighter sections here on the as now coming through the finish line, setting a 1:17 for Sang, not his best time. Now coming up over to the bridge sections of turn 5 and 6. Excellent little section here in Rome, beautiful little park. As the session has now completed, Sang having the fastest overall time with a 101.3. TDM in the Geox newcomer, 102.2 for him. Great session. Then in third, Kenny with a 102.5. We'll have him for an air review in a second. In fourth, Kakira in the Nissan with a 102.6. Rounding out the top 5 is Sonic with a 102.9. And the rest of the times are on your screen for the rest of the drivers here in the session. Great session we saw here in Rome, a lot cleaner than the first practice session in Eindhoven. So an interesting race could be on board, especially since Dak Hare was not here at the first practice. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. We're going to go ahead and jump to a quick ad break, and we'll come back to you with some interviews here in a moment. We'll see you in a bit. we are back now after the ad break. Unfortunately, my partner Aaron had to leave early, so I thank him for coming to the session, and we'll see him again tomorrow, joining us for qualifying and the race here in Rome. But now we're going to go ahead and jump to our two end of the session interviews. We are first joined by Lenore, who is sitting in P6 in the Drivers' Championship, and just recently made a switch to Mahindra from Envision. How are you doing, Lenore? It looks like we had some technical difficulties. Lenore, how are you doing today? Lenore, how do you hear me? Some technical difficulties with Lenore, so we're going to go ahead and jump to our other interview with Kenny from BMW Andretti team. So Kenny, welcome. How are you doing today? Looks like you've had a good session, sitting in P3 with a 102.5. Kenny, how do you hear me? Looks like we're having some... The session looks like we had a very competitive session today. All of the top 5 with a time in the 102s. And the average time overall, I'd say, was around a 104, 103. Was the most average time around the session. And overall, very competitive session with the top 5 drivers having the 102. That's probably the time you're going to want sub 102 for the Super Bowl session in qualifying tomorrow. As now we've gotten confirmation that the interviewees have fixed the issues they've had. So now we'll go ahead and get our interview with Kenny for the BMW Andretti team. Kenny, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you, Slayer.
So for your session, you're sitting P3 with a 102.5 here after the first practice session in Rome. How's that time for you? You think you can do better than?
Well, I think we can definitely improve to the low 102s, but I think it's quite scary having Sang in those 101s. Seeing as it's matches Decker, he could maybe challenge for the win. And, you know, it might be then a lonely race just in like P3 or P2.
I'm sure you're going to be looking for that, one of those final podium spots. But Sang sitting them at P1, is that about the range you expect Deker's time to be in, even though he wasn't here today?
Well, I think he can maybe improve. I mean, I don't think he got a lot of practice in, so probably Decker can lower his time. But at the moment, I think it's worrying to see Sang in those 101s.
Definitely, and you're sitting right now P3 in the Drivers' Championship. Your team in P3 as well. what are your aims for the rest of the season? Are you guys trying to push for that P2 spot, or what's going through the team right now?
Well, at the moment, it's just a fight between BMW and Nissans, because I don't think we can catch Audi. It would be a real hard task to do. With Dakar mostly winning almost every race is quite a hard task to catch that back, and I think we're just fighting with Nissan because it's the most likely position that we'll get.
Right, I think that's a reasonable ambition for you guys, and sitting P3 is very solid, so if you can hold on to one of those top 3 positions, not only for the drivers, but the Constructors Championship, I'm sure you guys will be happy with that season.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What do you expect for next season for you and your team? What are your goals going into next season with some notable changes that might be coming, such as attack mode and energy management?
Well, I think it's great because it could wrap up some things. So maybe we could stop the dominance of Dakar a bit. Because the energy management's probably gonna be a skill on its own. I think driving while managing your energy is quite hard because you can't go flat out all the way. So you have to look after your battery, which is quite worrying if you're trying to catch someone.
Definitely, I think that's going to be a great addition to the league to make it definitely more competitive. Now, as for you, it looks like I saw Hardman driving the other BMW car today. Has he officially joined the team in that other driver spot?
Yeah, last week we had a talk and we recruited him into the team, and I think he could be a really good help getting us into P2 in the constructors.
With the racing between you guys last week, do you expect any rivalries going on there within the team to be anything harsh?
Well, I mean, it was a close finish last time. Was the close finish I've ever had, and I think there's no rivalry at the moment. We're good friends with each other. We get along really well.
Well, that's great to hear. I think you guys are going to have an excellent end of the season. Thank you for your time. We'll go ahead and let you go.
Yeah.
Good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
Yep, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you at some point here at the end of the weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, see you.
All right, and now we're going to jump to our second interview with TDM, the new driver from the Geox team. Looks like he had an excellent session today, so be curious to see what he has to say about that performance. P2 on the day, and the Geox team overall looking very good, very good. So now, just looking at his time, 102.2 on the day, and his teammates, Sonic and the other Geox, with a 102.9. Very good team for Geox. Very good performance for Geox. Now joined by TDM Fan. How are you doing today? How was that session for you?
Hello. The session was really good for my first session, I believe. The track is a lot of fun, very difficult, but once you get the flow of it, you truly can set some amazing times. Sad that other drivers weren't here, like the Care and other pretty quick drivers, but I'm currently proud of my P2.
Definitely, and sitting in that P2 with the 102.2 for your first session, very competitive. Where do you think you can finish this weekend? That is a very competitive time for the session, and I think you can only improve upon that from what we were seeing from you out there.
It really depends on how many mistakes I make, but I'm feeling good with the track, so I doubt I'll make that many mistakes. I'm hopefully going to get a podium finish, but my aim is for at least top 5.
Now, Geox right now is down in P10 in the Constructors Championship, but with you and your teammate Sonic sitting P2 and P5 in this first practice session, are hopes looking up for you guys for the rest?
Yeah, you could say that. Sonic is also very fast, a good friend of mine.
That's great to hear.
Hopefully we can go up to at least P3 in constructors, maybe, possibly.
I think that would be a hard. That would be hard to accomplish, but if you can, I'm sure that would be an excellent result for you guys for the rest of this season, if you can push
Yeah.
up to there. So,
Yeah.
being your first session, we've seen you appear in getting used to the tracks. Speak to us about that. I mean, getting used to a track in the first session isn't easy. How do you get familiar with the track and get to that place where you can get these fast times?
Honestly, I only just I do my outlap. I take it fairly slowly, trying to learn I'm trying to learn to the line, and after a while, I just start pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually, I start getting better times. It's all a matter of taking your time to learn the track, learn a line, and then just going for it. Honestly.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us today, and good luck the
No
rest
problem.
of
Thank you for
the
having me.
session. Good luck the rest of the race this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you. I shall leave now.
All right, well, that was our interview with TDM Fan for the G. Their hopes are definitely looking up after this session. Very good session we had here for the first practice session, a lot cleaner than we had in Eindhoven. And now we'll take you through what our qualifying groups are going to be for the qualifying session tomorrow that we will open with. So for our qualifying groups, the first group going out is going to be Sonic in the Geox, followed by Kakira in the Nissan, with Lenore in the Mahindra, and Horizon in the Audi, but he's retired, so that's going to be one of their other drivers most likely. With Lord Plains in the Panasonic, and wrapped up with Cole in the Venturi. So interesting lineup we've got there. Cole, I don't think will be driving in that Venturi spot based off some other guys we've seen, but we'll see. Actually, I was thinking of Envision, my apologies. Group 2, you can see on the screen there, with Wacky for Neo, Jodatir for Neo, Dakar for Audi, good to see him there, JG for Panasonic, and Riley for Mahindra, wrapped up by a Hardman in the BMW Andretti. His first qualifying session for BMW. He'll be looking for a good result. Had not the best session today, with sitting P12 with a 104.8, but sure, he can improve. Now looking at qualifying sessions group 3 and 4. You want to walk us through that, Aaron?
Sorry, thanks you for taking over while I left. In Group 3, to Buzz in the HWA, Seng Stam, who set an astonishing lap time today in the Nissan, Love Majority in the Envision, Super Legend in the Chichita, and Shot in the other Envision. In Group 4, ahead Kenny Benny, P3 today was quite good from him. Hopefully he can improve on that time. The Andretti, Fictional in the Geox, Choco in the other Chichita, CJ in the HWA, and Super Funny Max in the Venturi.
Now, just speaking to the shot and being in that Venturi, based off looking who we saw today, doesn't look like he will be the one, and it's look like it's going to be Zazag driving for that other Envision. But we're not certain for sure who's going to be where. But very good first practice session here, and we're excited for the rest of the Rome E-Prix tomorrow with our coverage, starting with qualifying and then the race here in Rome. Looks like it's going to be a good session.
And
now,
I'm sure it will be.
One thing to note tomorrow is qualifying. Whoever gets Super Pole will get 3 points to their driver standings. So whoever gets that, going to be big points for them. So we'll come back to you tomorrow with qualifying. Aaron, you want to wrap it up for us?
Thank you. Thank you for all very much for watching FP1 today. I've been Aaron and he's been Slayer, and we wish you a very good afternoon. See you all tomorrow at the quali and race.